So we're going to start in WildSea. You are crew of a ship called the Flying Cloud, and its captain is Teche Etzriko. She's young-ish, ardent, late 20s, early 30s. She grew up on that ship. She learned how to crawl, learned how to run. She's climbed the highest mast. She's been to the highest spot. She's tinkered with the engine and has been out on the kite. She grew up on that ship, and she's been on that ship her whole life, except for a couple of years when she was at North. And once her father could no longer manage the ship, she took over as his captain. She's calm. There's nothing she doesn't know about that ship because the ship is her and she is the ship. She smells a little bit like citrus, somewhat sharp, almost like the saprophytic fruit that Aziz of Fall cultivate and grow upon the refuse of that place, and a little bit of spice, the burning leaf that's found in the shimmering barrens. She's short, wiry. She has the tip of an iron rapier that nearly scrapes the ground behind her right foot when she walks. And her eyes are gray. Her face is somewhat neutral. And a frown and smile from her kind of looks like the same. It's just a flicker of her lips one way or the other. She talks with a soft voice. She expects obedience, but it's in a way that she knows the ship so well that even the most grizzled wild sailor, nods because it makes sense. She's not harsh. She's even keeled. She chooses her crew wisely. She's a wild sailor years much beyond. The Flying Cloud is a scything frame ship, which means it has a pretty narrow, sharp hull, and it's made of broadwood, and it has a spring-work saw prow, and it has what's called sweat sails. So it has these wing-like sails that kind of open up, and when the Tangle kind of is humid, it rises up a little bit off that Tangle, give it a little bit of lift, a little bit easier to roll through the Tangle as its saw prow goes through. It has 3 longboats, one on each starboard and port side, and one slung aft, what's called the poop deck, which is slightly higher than the rest. It has a couple undercrew or gangs. It has deck engineers and picaros, which are shooters, but there's only a couple of them. Mainly they're brought on board because pirates have been flying the Blossom Shoals for quite some time, and spearfishers, which means they try to take substance from the Tangle as it's moving through. You're traveling along the Blossom Shoals, which are these eddies of color and flowers that Chrysarin have made gigantic, that are along what's called the Deep Down Trench, or the DDT. The Deep Down Trench is this wide black cut in the Tangle itself that goes all the way down, darker than you can see, and only fools go on the edge. You're sailing roughly in a southern position. It's morning, first thing in the morning, and the crew is up because it's part of what they do every day, first thing in the morning. And morning dawns, and the watch crew is changing, night watch crew to early watch crew. Most people are up on the main deck doing their basic things first thing in the morning, and all of you are on deck. Kind of a morning ritual of sorts. The captain is on the raised deck. Teche is just kind of standing at the rail where the pilot is holding the wheel, and she's just looking over the crew. There's a slight breeze that blows off the eastern edge, and a little bit of color from the Blossom Shoals create a haze in the distance on the starboard side. To the port side yawns the Deep Down Trench near the middle distance. So in this first thing in the morning at sunrise, what are each of you doing? What is your kind of normal routine?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Moldy's normally below decks in the kitchen.
Huh?
But every morning, he makes his way to the deck to catch the sunrise. Moldy, although further on in his years for a Gao, he's kind of a late bloomer. Unlike most of the other members of his colony who have gone on adventures and brought back stories of incredible sights and sounds, he was always more comfortable at home. within the caves, scavenging what he can to provide for his community. Always a little trepidatious about stepping out, but something lately has brought him out of that cocoon, and he's only recently joined the crew of the ship.
Okay.
And this is really the first time where he's actually seen the WildSea and the Blossom Shoals. So every morning is like magic to him. So he is standing right at the front of the ship, like on Titanic. He's like right at the prow, and just wow, and just like glued to the sunrise.
Describe what he looks like.
So Moldy is a gal, a fungal type creature, but he has the ability to change his shape every once in a while. So typically he's like paler in color with kind of like a typical mushroom cap. You'll notice that whenever he gets excited and he shakes his head, bright little sparks, almost of light, that catch the light, these spores just kind of glisten in the light. He carries around with him a slime mold most of the time that just kind of either sits somewhere on his body, either on the shoulder, or sometimes in a jar on the side. It changes color from green to yellow, red, blue, depending on his mood. That's his pet. He calls it the burp. He doesn't really have eyes. He just has this massive hole in the middle of his face, which you assume to be his eye, because that's kind of where the eye is. And he has this broad, kind of strange, ear-to-ear type grin. And whenever he smiles, it's just a row of razor-sharp teeth that shows up. So even though he's trying to be friendly, he kind of has a bizarre, kind of disarming, kind of creepy look about him. He also has the ability, like normally he has these pseudopods that kind of extend from his main body, but as he needs to use fingers or whatever, you'll see little smaller pseudopods erupt from the ends so he can grasp onto things. And there's always a warmth about him. Whenever you stand near him, you just feel warm. And that's because he has his own internal compost going on. And he has a McWood bee. And he has this little flap on the outside, just on the outside of his gut. And that's his oven. He has a little heating element that just sits on top of the compost, which stays warm. He just kind of slow cooks things inside of him. That's how he cooks, using the heat of the compost. And typically what he does in the mornings after...
I have a very important question.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering, is the hole, since it's not actually an eye, is this like the entrance to the compost, like throw a banana peel, a rotten, flower, go right in?
Yep, that'll work.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You can use them as like an organic garbage disposal.
Or does he even use the kitchen on the Flying Cloud? Or does the crew even know how he cooks their food?
There aren't like the traditional fire, because fires are bad, right? You would try to
right.
fires. He'll disappear downstairs just to put the crew at ease, because I don't think they would appreciate the fact that he cooks out of his stomach. He's not the best chef. No, he's not used to for people that aren't Gao. So his sense of taste and flavor is a little off. His specialty is like something that looks like a fruit roll-up. It looks kind of cool. It's kind of gelatin. But when you realize it's made of spashed beetles and sap, that he usually dries out, like lays out, rolls out on deck in the mornings to let it dry out and harden a bit. And then he cuts it into strips and passes it out to the crew as kind of like their tack for the day. It is barely edible, but it is sustaining. And that is typically, I think that's how you typically describe his cuisine. It'll keep you alive, but is it worth it? That's the question you got to ask.
So what I would have you do is to take a whisper. You could go down to resource and put a whisper and take the whisper order of recycling. Odor of recycling.
Yeah.
Ramona Avelina. Ramona, what are you doing in the morning?
My character's name is...
Wait.
It was funny that Moldy went first, but I would say, I was actually going to say I would probably be out first thing in the morning as soon as the sun is cresting. And she would probably be right on the prow, kind of probably at the very, very edge, very like scarily close to falling off on the very tip-top edge of the ship, kind of just, taking in the day and probably talking very loudly, maybe singing and looking around at all the wildlife she can spot out on the canopy, because that's probably where she stays most of the time, out in the front to face, anything coming their way, any threats, any new interesting things with her gun at her hip, her revolver at her hip. My character is an Ectus, and I have sort of flavored her as a cholla cactus, a very effervescent and bright, a chartreuse, is blindingly chartreuse, jumping cholla cactus, because it's the cactus I hate the most, being an Arizonan here, because a wind can just slightly blow and it will fall off and attach itself to you very painfully, and the barbs stay in for years. So I decided she would be a very fun jumping cholla cactus woman, young woman. She is an Ectus, so she's quite tall compared to maybe an Ardent, but she's shorter for her race, so probably around 6.5 feet tall. Like I said, she's bright chartreuse, and she's covered in bright yellow spines all over. And she has like a crown of budding, kind of scarily looking yellow cholla flowers on her head. She's wearing a traditional Mexican blouse, embroidered blouse. Well, what we would know as Mexican, just for flavor, a traditional white linen blouse with embroidery. And she's just kind of crazy. She's a little out there. She's spunky, and she's just, here for it. She's
Now, how long has she been on the ship, and why is she there?
So I was looking over what you put about our captain, and I thought to myself, and then I also kind of had a look at my character sheet, and I see that she, despite being a sapric, she has 3 in low sour. So that tells me, like, I kind of had the idea of, like, she's been here for a while. She's gritty. She was actually born here, if you could say she was born. I think she's I'll call her of the mother. So her lineage is with her. She is her lineage. And her mother and her grandmother were here on the ship. And when it was their time to pass, here she is. She's herself, but she also has sort of like, it's in my being an Ectus anchored slinger, you're kind of a spirit reborn in a way. And in that way, I think she's tied to her lineage, but she is a new spirit, and she's younger. And also, she's been on the ship her whole life, and I think she knows the captain pretty well.
Are you
Like,
friends?
the captain probably raised her. Yeah.
Are you the first mate?
Probably not, because I don't know that Teche would trust her to be the first mate, but she does trust her to be out on front with their guns going.
One other question. Have you been out on the kite and the high nest? So the high nest there's no really high sails, but it has these 3 masts, and the high nest is the central. It's this little nest at the top of the top mast. And the kite is this cloth-winged, broad iron wood ribbing perch that they wheel out on when there's high wind with rope to get a better vantage point. She's been out on the kite.
Yeah, and I think it would make sense that she's even like the kind of ship watch, ship eye. She's not a first mate, and she certainly won't be, sailing, helping pilot the ship, but she will definitely be the lookout for sure.
Okay. Rin, Sparks Clattercore.
Yeah,
So my character's Rin. Her nickname is Sparks. She kind of earned that after leaving her, I guess, clan, you can say. She grew up in this place called the Hollow Rest, where they pretty much like worship this god called Athun. And he was the rot root below her community of like the ancient slumber beneath the ridge. And she was kind of casted out when she was born on like this cliffside because she had elven features, and it didn't fit in with her community within the fungal group. But she does have aspects of fungi on her. So she is essentially, you see her, she has a mushroom head top with bits and pieces of like spores and more mushrooms going on top of each other. She kind of stays below deck along with Moldy because she's very fascinated with mechanics. Being that she didn't fit in, she was outcasted very young, and she kind of sailed the wild seas and took on odd jobs fixing ships and working with metal. So she kind of fell onto the ship, the flying cloud, and you see her come onto the ship and she wipes soot off her face. She's got goggles on her head. She's equipped with like a big ratchet and tools equipped on the side of her. And as she's coming up from below the deck, she glows like a bluish hint. But when she hits the sun, that seems to fade. So she comes out in the morning every once in a while just to check on the sweat sails and make sure everything's in where it's supposed to be. And she's very close to Moldy in a way of their growing up being gal. And she pretty much is just going about making sure the crew is doing what they're supposed to do. She's very not in command, you can say, but she's very worried all the time about whether things are breaking or she can get her hands on anything just to fix it, just because, and try to learn something new.
What's one thing Rin feels about the flying cloud that still amazes or confounds her?
I think it would have to be the captain. The captain comes off as, this person who smells like citrus and, comes off with having order and all this crew, but she kind of seems a little closed off at times, maybe. So she likes to kind of step in and want to take her place in giving orders, but in a way of like learning from her mostly.
So I forgot to mention Ramona. Take the Whisper wide bound energy, so you could go to resources and click and add the Whisper wide bound energy. Rin, what's one tool you think you can't do without, whether it's a clanky engine or a grumpy navigator?
I think it would have to be my ratchet. I think that's something that I kind of built on my own with all the scraps that I found while being on the wild seas. So it's something I've grown very attached to. I got my nickname Sparks because of what this tool can do and how it makes me more equipped with learning how to work with metal and building things on a whim. So, yeah, I think that's kind of like my pet, if you can say.
So I'd have Rin take the Whisper righty-tighty, lefty-loosey.
Cute.
I like it.
I like it too.
I have a question.
Yeah, Ramona had a question.
How long has your character? Yeah, I was gonna ask Gabby. How long has your character been on the ship? Then, if you're kind of close with Moldy, and he said he's relatively new, how long do you think you would have been on the ship?
I want to say since we took off, since we started adventuring for, I guess we're looking for things, right? Is that what the captain's essentially doing, trying to deliver trade? So since that happened, I've known of Moldy through like the grapevine kind of thing. So we've met in the past, and being that he's on this ship now, I think we're trying to build a closer relationship in that aspect.
I think
Rin's
probably the only one who appreciates his cooking.
Just like Mom.
At home.
It's great.
Moldy knows that the captain never eats what he brings to her cabin. The plate is clean, but he's almost positive he never eats it. Oh, I had one other question, but how do we get back? Oh, the Flying Cloud is a merchant ship, mainly traversing the Blossom Shoals to take merchandise or cargo from one place to another. Especially now, as fall is going to happen, because once fall gets into full effect and the Tangle loses a lot of its growth, it may not be able to support a ship. So this is kind of one of the last runs of fall, really. Flot-sam, that leaves you left.
Yes, last but not least.
Describe Flot-sam and, how long has he been on the ship? And
That's a very good question. Flot-sam is, here, let me get that out of the way, ironbound, which means that he's a soul of a wrecked ship. Or is he, in fact, from souls from a wrecked ship? That's something that I'm still struggling to get a grip on. He's bits and pieces of wreckage. He's Flot-sam, or you can just call him Sam. He's got a lantern on the top of his head.
Stan?
Call him Sam. But Flot-sam is his, full name, you could say. So he's got a lantern on top of his head. Depending on where he's looking, the little light inside is going to be moving one way or the other. When he talks, just like the old lanterns, you have to lift them up. Well, that part kind of moves, so he kind of makes a clanking sound when he talks. When he walks around, you notice that he's parts of the masts and parts of the yard arms, and one of his legs, in fact, the left leg, is an anti-boarding swivel gun. So he kind of makes a thumping sound when he walks around. You definitely don't want to be doing any kind of stealthy action with Flot-sam around. In fact, he kind of walks around and it kind of sounds like this. So if you notice in the picture, he's got a portal on his barrel. He flips that open and he can reach inside, and he's not going to know exactly what he's going to be pulling out. But he carries all kinds of different pieces of different things that he finds along the way. He keeps them inside his barrel, kind of carries around. We haven't really established the different weapons or anything, but he carries around. I envision him carrying around a harpoon, but he is, part of his soul is a surgeon. So he has a number of different tools that he thinks will help heal different things. He walks around the ship with a little oil canister or a different tool, and not necessarily fixing the ship, but he's in tune with the ship in a spiritual way rather than a mechanical way. So not trying to get into anyone else's character territory, if you understand what I mean. He may be more of a spiritual healer, in fact. He has a sentinel skywing, which I envision because Flot-sam is constantly looking to pick up other pieces. He's probably has some kind of a crow or a raven that goes after the shinies. So he likes to have that little bird probably pops in and drops things off in his little portal of his barrel. How long has he been on the ship? That's an interesting question, because Flot-sam doesn't really keep track of time very well. I'm not sure. I'm a little uncertain whether he even has to sleep, given that he is a spirit that has pulled things together, Flot-sam of other wrecked ships. So does he need to sleep? I'm not exactly sure yet. Quite large. I mean, given that he's got a sort of a cannon for a leg and a big barrel for a body and yard arms for arms and legs and all kinds of different pieces of ships here and there. He is definitely not somebody that you want to go overboard with and rely on him to try to save you. He's going to go down. So that's just part of being an Ironbound character.
Does the flying cloud, does Flot-sam talk to the flying cloud? Does the flying cloud talk to Flot-sam?
That's some unorthodox communication, yes. Nothing that anyone else can pick up, but he maybe hears a creak or a rope strain or something, and he may know exactly what's being conveyed. But he's really there. I think he's really there to be part of the soul. Again, was maybe when his soul as a ship was wrecked, other souls of the crew became part of him as well. So he's there really to be a surgeon and to look after the living. Although ships are living things too. So,
right. What I'm going to ask is what's called unsetting questions for WildSea, to kind of develop this idea of the flying cloud as a group, really, kind of think about what's one rumor you've heard about Captain Teche Etzriko? Good, bad, different?
So Moldy has to be terrified of the captain. Not because he thinks she's like scary, but he's afraid of what she is and what if it's true, then what he could do to her. Because that scent of citrus and fruit constantly emanating from her. Moldy has a knack or a talent to immediately rot vegetables and fruit. So we will never.
Does he ferment?
I count as a vegetable.
So he doesn't want to come anywhere, get anywhere closer, for fear rotting her.
Okay.
So he thinks that she's a giant lemon.
Oh.
So you keep your distance, Ramona. You're gonna.
I think Ramona, I think she would probably be the one who spreads any and all rumors on the ship about Teche because, like she's raised with her, like she kind of raised her, but I think they kind of interact more like sisters in a way. But like, at odds, but love each other kind of thing. And I think she probably is devious and she goes around the ship just for fun, not like a curious and funny sort of devious. And I think she probably was the one who told Moldy that she thinks she might be a lemon and that the only reason he smells the citrus and spice is because she's flatulating. That's, I spread, all kinds of random weird rumors about Teche.
You gab a lot. She knows that though. I think
Yes, she knows. She knows I'm the one. I'm
She's-
not trying to hide it. Yeah.
oddly kept her distance from you for some reason on her return from the ship. Anyone else have any rumors about the captain?
Being that I'm below deck most of the time, trying to keep track of like the mechanics, and the crew tends to spread rumors that the captain might be hiding something within the storage or like the stuff that we're trying to trade that may be of value. So they're kind of curious all the time, like what are within these crates or what she has to offer to us once we deliver the items to where we need to bring them.
Yeah, that was another question I was going to ask the group is what cargo are they carrying and do they have contraband and does the captain know about it?
I was actually wondering if Bandy's character was sort of salvaged cargo and
So that's a good idea.
That's entirely possible. I really haven't gone down that depth. I always envisioned him or Flot-sam pulling himself together on site of the wreck and somehow making his way to a settlement and then finding employment in some way, shape, or form. However he may fit in. I'm going to say he only because that's it. I don't think there's any gender associated with this Ironborn character, but I'll tend to say he just, he may have heard the whispers and the creaks from the ship are that the captain certainly has a long family history on board the Flying Cloud, but has been at times pushed the ship to its limits and caused some distress at points, but always afterwards was well looked after. So that's why Flot-sam likes to hang out on the Flying Cloud.
I think Flot-sam has also heard the captain's voice in the ship. It strikes him as odd, but almost eavesdropping between this ardent captain and the ship itself in a manner that's not common. At first he thought it was just, nothing, but then he realized that the ship and the captain has this unique bond that he hasn't quite figured out.
Kind of symbiotic, perhaps.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Different than Ramona's bond with the ship.
it's like my mother, my grandmother, we've all been
So-
here forever.
Is there contraband? And does she know about it? Or is someone else hiding contraband from the ship?
What would be classified as contraband? like in this
Anything that
sort of setting. I wonder what things.
anything the captain doesn't know about that's dangerous, an artifact, something from the deep down, something that could ignite.
I was gonna say something related to fire because it's so restricted throughout this whole thing. So like
Oh,
maybe they're
Ooh.
bringing in some type of dynamite or I don't know, something related to fire. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, there are firearms, so there must be some kind of propellant.
Yeah, they typically
Gunpowder.
Gunpowder,
say
yeah.
you could figure out if it was like a chemical propulsion, air, not gunpowder. Some were even related to the magic of the world, even though they don't use the word magic. That sort of thing. So there's,
I wonder.
but, so you think maybe there is contraband that the captain doesn't know or is involved in herself?
I want to say a mix of both. Maybe she knows that there's something up with it, but she doesn't know exactly what. So it's a mystery,
Or the
but
full
she's in on
extent.
something.
I just have one thing for Sam or Flot-sam. I would take the whisper Raven hunted treasure. So in the morning, as you guys are doing the ritual of the sun rising, and it's rising over the Blossom Shoals, the deep down trench to the starboard side, and the shoals to the port. The captain is back with the wheel on the poop deck, and she catches Ramona's eye and just makes a little nod, like almost not an order, but a calling to her side.
Say I'd probably be out on the bow on the prow. So I don't know, like any morning or midday. Maybe in the evening she would be somewhere darker, but in the middle of the day in the morning she's out there. So she'd probably give a look to Teche and be morning, Teche. All right, I'm coming. How are you doing? And then I I'm just real kind of rough, even not rough in a sort of painful way, but a little pushier than I should be, but she's used to it. I give her a good old slap on the shoulder back. What do we got in store for us today?
She looks at her shoulders. She goes, Miss Ramona, you well then? Vibrant.
Of course, Teche. Why you call me Miss Ramona? I know you for about what? I've been alive for 15 years? 16 years? Miss, what's the miss?
When you go to hit her on her shoulder, she actually turns a little bit. You just barely touch her with the tips of your fingers. It's a reflex almost when you go to touch her. Now you've touched Captain Teche many times when you were a kid, and she's had you on her lap. Maybe if when she was a teenager, and like you said, you've grown up with her. But any more you get too close to her, or you notice anytime anyone gets really too close to her, she has this middle distance. Not really much physical contact. You go to slap her on the shoulder, and you just barely catch the edge of her jacket. And she doesn't say anything about it. She just looks at you, Ramona, and she says, "Are you taking care of the picados in case pirates show?"
Of course, they're my normal crew. Why you ask? We already did our morning stretch. They're already in their stations. I'm in the front. They're in the back, in the sides, and we're looking out.
Oh, good then, Ramona. I would have you make a roll to notice something. In the distance, rise up out of the Tangle ship. You're standing there with Captain Teche, and in a gregarious manner, she has a flicker of a smile. You're engaged as someone who knows the captain more than most people, aside from the ship itself. So what you could do is you could choose an edge and a skill, and I would give you 1 dice advantage, just because of who Ramona is, always on the lookout, like you said, always watching over things. So you would choose an edge. This would be the first kind of roll of the game. And your roll is going to affect everyone else on what happens. Success, conflict, disaster.
Okay, so wait, is this a roll as a lookout? Like I'm looking out on the
right.
on
So this is a roll of
WildSea here.
Right. You just happen to be back aft with the captain on the poop deck before the wheel. It's you, her, and maybe the pilot. The crew is out in front of you. Everyone's on deck, but you're up there because she called you towards her, and because you're Ramona and she's Captain Teche. Well, I don't know if you have a different name for her, but in other companies, Captain Teche. And so you just happen to be there, but her back is.
I think I call her just Teche.
Teche. Okay. So Ramona, you would
Teche,
choose
because
an
she's
edge.
like, I don't have a sh. I don't say a sh. I do a ch. Everything is ch. So let's see. So this is like a sort of lookout sort of check.
Right.
Then
You just
edge. I will use maybe. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
go ahead. No, yeah. There's a little. You have a little delay, so I'm trying to like.
Oh, I do. Oh, I wonder what.
It's
my
okay.
internet-
You're fine. You just all recognize it, so it's about a 3 or 4 second.
Okay. I think if it's a kind of a sort of lookout check, I will probably use instinct
Okay.
as my edge. And then, am I allowed to add skills? Can I add a skill?
Yep. You can. I can. Yeah. You would add a skill. You would.
Let's
you could
see.
click
I
on-
will. Oh wait. Oh, I can just click on it like this, and then. Oh wow! I didn't realize I could just click on those actual words and then roll it
Yeah,
like
you can
that.
click-
That's awesome.
Right. And then you can choose your skill on the drop
Skilling.
down. Right.
Okay. Could I maybe either hack or hunt? What am I looking out for specifically? Am I looking out for something dangerous, or am I looking for a path to be
It's really
through?
a moment that your natural instinct catches it. Not that if you are keep an eye on everything, even though you're talking to the captain, then sure, you could choose everything. Like if you're always vigilant, but it's more of does Ramona see it? Does Ramona see it naturally?
Oh, I see.
Right.
On her. Okay, I see. Okay, then no, I don't think any of these skills really make sense.
Hunt might work. Hunt is just your natural vigilance if you want to do hunt. I don't know if any others.
Okay.
So if
Buddy.
it's marked off, like with the across it, those are the things that you have, correct?
Those are things you have, right?
Okay, got it.
Yes.
I should have. I went when I preloaded.
Okay,
it.
I think I'll do hunt. Maybe like I'm really trying to look and see if something is off. Let's see here. Okay, and then I can just hit submit and it will roll.
Right. Actually, and then
will
you
it-
go down to advantage.
Submit.
Oh, that's good. Triumph. Okay. Oh, you'll put the advantage.
Oh wait, where is the roll? I'm so confused now. Where is it?
Look in the chat box on the right. There's two bubbles on the right.
Oh, all the way down here. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I see it.
Right. So Ramona, you see it. You have a triumph. You catch it out of the corner of the eye. Captain Teche is talking to you, bantering maybe a little bit, maybe easing up a little bit of softness you haven't seen from her in a while. But after the ship, you see it rise, really. A ruckus, a blur, a blur of white and slightly red. You know it with that triumph that a drift of storm bees have risen out of the canopy, this cloud of storm bees, and are now racing directly towards the aft of the ship. No one really sees it but you. They're soft gray. They're not deep red as they haven't eaten recently. And I'll show you a picture of what they look like as you're looking out, what you know they look like when you've ever caught them or hunted them. And they're called storm bees that rise out of the tangle of the canopy. There's just a mass of them that blurs out. At first, the blur catches the side of your eye, and then you look back there and you realize they're racing towards the ship. I think, what does Ramona do? No one else sees it.
I think immediately if she sees that, and also with that roll, would you say that I would see that and see it as an immediate threat?
Right. She would know that the drift bees the drift of storm bees have risen up from the canopy of the Tangle and now are going to flood over the crew of the ship and put everyone at risk. Drift bees are carnivorous. They eat on the wing. They turn a blood red after they've eaten, but now they're kind of like a soft gray, whitish color. There's just a cloud of them that blot out the horizon.
I think immediately Ramona would, without skipping a beat, call out to her crew. What did you say their names were again? The crew of
Flying
like
Cloud.
other hired. No, not the Flying Cloud. There were a couple of, there's like a group of crew members that were kind of their protection.
Yeah, the crew members would be the Picaros, which are shooters. Now they don't all have guns. Some of them have bandolier, that sort of thing. But there are a couple Picaros. You're one of them, but you're more of a natural-born Picaro of the ship itself, not one that was hired.
I probably immediately, looking directly over the captain's head, I can't do that whistle. I wish I could. I really wish I could. But whistle, and be like, "Oye!" and call everybody to the deck. All hands on deck, and maybe like signal the crew to, maybe if this is something that we know, we've seen, we've experienced before, maybe we have some sort of covering that we would kind of pull over the ship to kind of get everything started.
So what happens is you whistle out, yell out at the crew. Captain Teche turns around and you hear her say, "Damn nation." And she looks back at you and she goes, "Ramona, ring the bell, bring the ship to quarters." And the storm bees flood over the aft end of the ship.
Yeah, Ramona will run over and try to, as fast as she can, ring the bell. And like I said, she already kind of signaled and called out to to the crew, and see if we can all race as fast as possible to cover as much as of the ship as we possibly can before they sort of swarm the whole thing.
So what's going to happen is everyone's going to have an action roll because Ramona was successful. If she hadn't been successful, it would have been more of a reaction roll for being in danger. So we go to each of you. Like, you're on the deck. Ramona starts ringing the bell. There's a bell right by the wheel of the pilot. And she starts ringing the bell after Captain Teche gives her the order to call the crew to quarters, which essentially means prepare for conflict. Oldie, you hear that bell roll. You see this wave of gray, white, flying, feeding things on the wing just envelop the back of the ship, and the captain and Ramona streaming towards you. Crew member drop on the ground. Some hide behind the main mast. Others draw weapons. The Picaros, one of them pulls this kind of crossbow looking with bands. Another one has like a kind of wooden shield. What does Moldy do?
Moldy's first reaction would probably be, wow. I just think that this is so cool. But then he realizes as he looks around and sees people panic, oh, maybe this is not a good thing. What he'll do, first thing he's going to look for is Rin.
Okay.
First thing. Where is Rin?
So I'm by Flot-sam, and I'm like mesmerized by all the metal and different scraps that build him. And I'm trying to like jot notes down, and I'm just like engulfed in everything about Flot-sam. So I'm there. Am I close
Unaware.
to Moldy? Yeah, totally unaware, just engaged on Flot-sam.
All right. I'll pull out a little jar, unscrew the lid, and pour Burp out onto deck. No, Burp, go get Rin. And as Burp slimes off towards Rin, you'll notice that the gills beneath his cap start to shake, as this is all new to Moldy. He's not used to this level of excitement or danger. And anxiety levels rising, and as a result, there's a little shower of spores is starting to leak from his gills. And he'll start moving as fast as he can towards the closest crew member that he can get to safety. He'll grab them and start trying to pull them below deck.
Okay, I'm going to have you make 2 rolls. First, I'm going to have you make roll for Burp, trying to reach Rin and let Rin know danger. One of 2 things are going to happen. You're going to be successful, and Rin can use another action, but Rin won't take damage at all. Or you're going to fail, and potentially Burp is going to take damage. So I would make 1 roll for Burp and use an edge skill and probably advantage, since you're using Burp as a resource.
All right. I'm going to use, none of these are really good. Instinct, just as the closest thing. The skill I will use is sense.
Sure. And then 1 advantage die for
all right.
Burp himself first. Ooh.
Wow.
Triumph with a twist. Oh, we got a first twist, so that'd be fun. So what happens? Rin is, enthralled, right? Writing notes and not unaware that danger, even though the crew is all over the place, Rin is engulfed, making the right diagrams.
All right. So because Rin is so engrossed in what Sam looks like and all the little bits and pieces, Burp realizes that the best way to catch Rin's attention is to crawl up Sam's leg. The Burp will kind of crawl up and basically cover Sam's lantern face so that Rin cannot ignore Burp. Burp is right in her face.
Okay.
So I'm taking my notes, and I look up to continue, and I see Burp, and I'm taken aback. And I does he speak, Burp, or is he more of like communicative through colors?
Colors.
Colors. What color is he illuminated?
Red right now.
Red. Okay, so immediately I see red, and I trigger that with danger. and I turn around and I look for Moldy. And what do I see Moldy doing?
Molly's busy trying to herd these crew members
Okay.
below there.
So, do you look very like in shambles, or are you more calm
Yeah,
in
you
shambles?
recognize Molly like when you see the shower of spores escaping.
Spores.
You know that he's like fearful or anxious or.
Okay. So I take Burp off Flot-sam and I say, I think we're in danger and we have to go. And I take Burp and I put him on my shoulder and I race towards Moldy.
Okay. We'll get to your roll for reaction and Blossom roll, but there is a twist, our first twist. And it's a group kind of thing. It doesn't have, it could be positive or negative. It's something that changes what's happening at the moment. Anyone have any ideas for a twist?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last?
Anyone have any ideas for a twist?
A twist.
Yeah.
I have some questions first, though, if I may. How large are the bees? You haven't mentioned that. And how
About
much
the size of your hand or an ardent's hand, roughly. The body.
So
Wings
does
go
this-
further, but
does the swarm look like kind of like a locust kind of thing? Or are they like a shadow
That's the-
cloud of
Cloud.
yeah?
yeah, there's a cloud of so many bodies that it just makes it a density of, you could hear them hitting the wings themselves, just cause this low hum because there's so many of them.
Is it
Okay.
possible to introduce other things with a twist?
You could,
So you
we
could,
all kind of,
like I don't know WildSea or the creatures of WildSea at all, but I don't know if there's anything like a whale shark or something that feeds on these things that just kind of like opens its mouth and just kind of like krill just will swallow them. Is that
some other
Or being that
beast
Flot-sam,
following?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Flot-sam can call a sential, right? You can call like birds. No.
I don't have a call of birds as far as I'm aware, but I do have a bird, but the bird is off scouting currently.
so Andrew mentioned another predator. Ramona mentioned something else was following them. Both of those are really good ideas, kind of a mix. Anyone have any additions, or should I just run with it?
Any what?
Additions? Any other ideas?
Another question, just sort of lore based. Smoking tobacco, smoking other herbs. You need to light fire for that.
Yeah, they do it in a very specialized place. In most ports, most ports have a specialized place where you can smoke and light fires. Nowhere else. Not on the deck of Teche ship.
We're in a water. It's like surrounds.
Because I was going to say bees and smoke don't mix.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about pulling out a pipe and maybe and creating
The captain.
Even through a swarm of bees, Flot-sam, you would realize why you stay away from the captain if you light up on her deck.
You just know the lore.
Right? Sparks, you have any additions, or shall I go with it?
I'm gonna leave it up to you.
All right. Ramona, you're in the back. This swarm of bees come through. You're ringing the bell, and you hear the captain mutter a curse. Now, the captain doesn't really curse all that often. It's pretty rare. When the captain curses, it means something, because she feels that if you're going to say those type of things, they got to have purpose and power. And so she's not like a common wild sailor who just curses all over the place. She's very direct with her cursing. And you hear her curse like in a manner that you probably haven't heard before. You turn around from ringing the bell and you see two things. Number one, she's just standing there. The captain's feet are stable. She seems non-pulsed, and you catch her in a moment. She's not aware anyone's looking, and the storm bees are flying through the substance of her body without stopping, like she's immaterial. You see them go through her, and the leading edge of the back edge of the cloud clears the space. And so the first thing you see is these storm bees flowing through the captain as if the flesh of her body has. And then the leading cloud,
She's incorporeal.
ethereal, or whatever the WildSea word is. And then you see it. You see it rise out of the deep of the Tangle, this huge crashing that no one else behind you can see. This huge Leviathan rises out, multi-segmented, body, and you realized, Ramona, being who you are, that these storm bees weren't just out for a dinner. They were fleeing something incredibly large. I will show you what you see as it
Right.
rises. It's about the size of the ship itself.
Oh, yeah. So the bees were the krill to this thing's whale, right?
Literally.
Like they were running, and okay, this thing is coming right on after them.
And you have a
hopefully
moment.
we're not directly in its path.
Right. It's literally flowing through the Tangle, following in the wake, now locked onto the ship. Captain Teche looks at you and says, I'm not certain we can outrun this, Mr. Ramona. And we'll go back to the other crew. Flot-sam, you get grub pulled off from your light lantern visor. You see the storm bees flowing across. Crew members are diving on deck. Some are protecting himself. Moldy is ushering crew down the gangplank as Rin runs to help him. What does Flot-sam do?
He reaches into his portal and he pulls out a little manual and starts flipping through the pages, looking for how to treat bee stings. So he's going to hold his action, and as soon as somebody gets hurt, he's going to jump to that healing.
Okay. I'd let you do a healing roll. There are probably crew that have had chunks of them taking off. You see Stormbee's color goes from a white or light gray to red as they're screaming out. And there's probably crew around you writhing on the deck with Stormbees on them. So I'd have you make a roll. The risk of the roll is that if you have a conflict or a failure, then Flot-sam is going to take damage himself because he's engaged in healing another crew. If you get a full success, then somehow your movement prevents you. So what would you roll?
So it starts with an edge.
Okay.
I would imagine, since it's a bee, the bee is leaving its stinger behind, or something like that. So I would use sharps then as something to try to extract the stinger.
Okay.
And
Oh no.
Oh, what?
Oh, sorry. You guys all cut out. Sorry, I didn't even know that was. You guys could hear that. Sorry about that. I'll just mute myself for a second.
So we're using sharps and
Yes.
what?
How about study? Because this is something that's always interested. Flot-sam is the interaction between worlds, so to speak. So,
Or food. Yeah, worlds. Food would be.
Yep.
Moldy.
So
Okay. Sure.
No advantage.
You get advantage, 1 die for advantage, because Ramona warned you.
Oh, okay.
Everyone gets advantage. Right. So you can use advantage.
And what does cut mean? I'm sorry.
Cut means it's difficult, and I tell you to add it, and it cuts away a dice.
4 dice.
Get everyone rolling 6s.
Just being nice to us
Triumph.
now.
Right. What does that look like when Flot-sam tends to crew members and yet suffers no consequence from the storm bee?
He kind of rolls his barrel around. He gets on his side and he just kind of rolls around and treats somebody, and maybe he keeps his lantern really bright to try to fend things off. Although bright lights seem to attract, maybe I don't know.
Well, I'd go with that. Maybe you learn something about storm with a triumph. You learn something about storm bees, that they're in the lower part of the Tangle. They're used to murky light, and such brightness overwhelms them in close proximity, and they kind of shy away around you like an eddy around you as you're treating.
I'm writing that down as you're saying that. I've got my little.
It comes canon.
Yes, we're creating a story.
Moldy. So Rin, are you helping Moldy?
Yeah, I'm helping the usher, the crew, and assessing who's hurt. And I turn to him and I say, "What's going on?"
I don't know, dear, but there's something big, and I'll see this big Leviathan thing kind of rearing up behind.
And I see him pointing, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then I'm like, I try to figure out what to do next, and I grip onto my ratchet, and I'm just holding on tight and seeing if there's anything I can do to kind of stop this thing from going any further.
So I'd have you both. We're going to do a help roll. but instead of just one person making a roll, I'm gonna have you both make a roll to try to get the crew underneath as you see this Leviathan, because the storm bees are still flooding across the edge. And so both of you get the roll, and we take the best one. We'll do it that way. And so both Rin and Moldy can make a roll. Both Sparks and Moldy can make a roll, and we'll see whose roll is best. And
No
you
more
guys
advantage,
decide.
though, right? No more advantage.
You still, if you haven't used your advantage from Ramona, you could use you can have it then.
Okay, so when rolling, how do you do that?
So you could either go to the dice on the left, or you can go to your character sheet. You could pick an edge and shoot and mouse over the edge name, like Grace or Sharps or Iron, and you click it. Now, when you click it, what will happen is they'll choose that edge, and then they'll have skills. And so you could either always pick Brace, because Brace is the first word. You pick a skill you would like to use with that edge,
Okay.
right? And then on advantage, you pick one die. You click that down, and it says +1 die. So first you pick an edge and a skill you think would work to help get the crew down with Moldy, and then you add 1 die for advantage.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with sharps, and do you hit submit?
Right, so you would pick Sharps, and then what are you going to use for skill?
Oops.
That's okay, we won't count that one.
Okay. So I would click sharps first, and then click the skill after.
Right, so if you click Sharp, it'll bring up with the dice pool,
It
and
says
then you go to
edge, skill, advantage, and cut. And then
right, so then you
cancel.
click on skill. You can click on skill, and the skills you have. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna do sharps and scavenge.
Okay.
Okay.
And then advantage, you click on that and choose 1 die, and then you say submit.
Got it.
Triumph with a twist. Everyone's rolling 6s. 6s are coming up for
I was like,
everyone.
wait, that was a 6.
So I would expect Moldy and Sparks, you're going to take Triumph with a twist rather than conflict. You could, okay. So
Moldy's about 2 and 4.
we're go with the Triumph first. Moldy and Sparks, you usher the crew down one of the ladder wells, this narrow ladder well, but you're both standing there ushering crew down that need help. You see Flot-sam tend to other ones, this huge souled ship, parts of it moving through the crew, and somehow the storm bees flow around Flot-sam without touching them. And the crew just listens to you, goes down the ladder well, and you get as many as possible out of off the main deck as you see Ramona and the captain looking at. What's the twist? Anyone have any?
An even bigger Leviathan.
You want something else?
God, another one.
Sure, I'll go with that. We're waiting for Ramona to come back, and then
Okay.
I'll roll with it, because Moldy is just flowing out there.
Another one.
I should just keep my mouth shut.
Maybe Flot-sam is like he has knowledge on the bees, right?
Yeah, he's developed knowledge regarding bright lights and the shine of his
Maybe-
lantern eyes.
Maybe the twist can be that Flot-sam calls them back and has them like as like a decoy, maybe. But something happens and they turn against us in a way, or I don't know. Maybe he fails at it. That could be an idea.
How about the bright light that once he figures it out, he emits an even brighter light to sort of push the bees back towards the Leviathan, and the Leviathan gobbles them up, and maybe
Goes
that's
away?
ideal.
You just go.
What our do is our use a little bit of both.
Okay.
I have no idea what on the spur of the moment, giving Moldy deciding something else was chasing the Leviathan. What Ramona sees as she's in the back is Flot-sam, you somehow spread your light in like a flat plane, out, and it causes the front half or part of the storm bees to flow forward, and the others roll back, kind of like that eddy roll back towards the Leviathan, this segmented, brightly colored giant chrysaorine pod. And as Ramona's looking back there, something else breaks the surface of the Tangle behind the Leviathan. She squints, and what happens first is Captain Teche Etzriko looks at you and says, because she sees this look in your eyes, and she realizes you've seen the storm beast flow through her, and she looks at you, little Ramona, and she says, "Not a word, Mr. Ramona, not a word."
I think I don't even say anything to her. I look at her and I just kind of give her a wink, you know. And sorry, my internet like went haywire
okay.
there for a second, so I kind of am a little like, where are we here? But so you said there's a beast that came after this beast
Oh,
or something.
There's not a beast back there.
Okay.
You look past and you see this Leviathan, and you see this long thread that looks like it's stuck on something in the middle of its carapace. And out of the tangle comes something you've never seen before. This dark, yellow-black submersible rises up. And then you see men, little figures way back there, manning what looks like giant ballistas. And you see one of the shots like careen off the giant Leviathan, and then another one just hits it in the back, and another little line goes back, and you feel this squeal, this high-pitched, reverberating squeal that comes up through your toes and through your feet and shakes the gross off the top of your head as a Leviathan jolts forward and makes ground on the flying cloud. Captain Etzriko goes through and says, "We're in it now. We need to try to get out of the way."
So to clarify, it appears to me that something is now hunting this Leviathan. The Leviathan is also okay.
Right.
On
I
the
think
run.
Ramona would figure out that first the storm beast came up because the Leviathan was breaching, and the Leviathan's breaching because there's a
Something is
submersible,
after it.
which you've heard about but never have seen. Like it's a rumor maybe of things that go deep into the Tangle, rise out of the thing. And it looks like it's hunting the Leviathan and pushing it towards the flying cloud.
It's literally the circle of life.
Oh my goodness. I think she'd probably say like, I think it to her, she's saying a silent prayer, but she's probably more like, you know, and then she probably, I wonder what she would do. I don't know. Does she see that there's like a crew, or the submersible looks like one solid ship? Like you can't see the crew inside.
It's like a torpedo-shaped ship, and it looks like there's like a bubble in the top, and then they're up on like a flat surface on the top where these ballistas or ballista-looking things are. That's what she sees way out there. And because the bulk of the Leviathan really covers most of it, the ship is smaller. The submersible is probably 3/4 the length of the flying cloud. The flying cloud is about 300 steps long and maybe 75 steps wide. The submersible is smaller, thinner, but seems to be chasing it. And the Leviathan is just caught on to the end of the wake, the Tangle wake of the flying cloud right behind it. Probably, it's hard to say, 1,000 steps, which is roughly 800 meters or half a mile.
Whew. Okay.
Close enough for...
Yeah, something is happening quick. Okay, brace for impact. Well, I think Ramona would say a loud silent prayer, and then she would maybe ask Teche if there's a way to, I can't remember what you called the
Sweat wings?
Yes, the sweat wings. If there is a way to sort of disengage them so we drop quickly to let them right over the top of us. And then if there is, I would probably look out to the crew and be like, hold on to something that's something. I don't know. I'd probably just be like, hold on to wood.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a montage, and there's going to be two tracks. There's going to be the Leviathan, Messatina, and or caught by the Leviathan. And a second track that's going to be free and clear. And I'm going to type it up. And so the tracks are going to be empty. And what's going to happen? I'll put 8 right right here. I'm going to put another track that says free and clear. And we're going to do some montage in a different kind of class, in a different kind of way. Each person will decide on an action, and one other of the characters will join them in the action. We'll kind of do a round robin. And the goal is to free the flying cloud from the Leviathan. Now, unfortunately, the Leviathan starts with at least, not give it that, a single mark. And so here's what's going to happen. If you succeed, you get to mark free and clear. If you succeed with a conflict, you mark both tracks. And if you have a disaster, you mark 2 tracks on the Leviathan.
Okay.
And or decide what happens. So Captain Etzriko, Teche rings the bell herself. A very rare thing for her to do, or the captain to do. She rings the bell. All eyes kind of go her, because now it's this quiet calm beside this huge crashing noise behind you. And she looks at the crew and yells out at them, "Friends, crew of the Flying Cloud, we must make haste before the Leviathan catches us. Do all you can." And she turns back and looks over her shoulder at Ramona and says, "We might not make out of this, Ramona. If that comes to the case, get the crew into the longboats, and I will take the Flying Cloud out."
They'll give her a nod and just probably look over and say, "Just so you know, you're not very good at telling the future." So, I feel like she's getting she's a negative, I'm just like, don't worry about it. But I give her a nod, like I'll absolutely do that, and maybe kind of look around to my fellow crew members. Are we going to try to prepare to do something before we try to actually
Right. So
make
everyone
it into any longboats, any escape?
Right. That's like a last ditch effort,
Yeah, that seems like a lost.
Yeah, like if the Flying Cloud is going to go down, she wants her crew safe. That's really what she's telling Ramona.
Okay.
And Ramona gets the sense that she wants Ramona safe. This Ectus that she raised partially on the ship, who's been on the ship as much, that there's life still to be left for Ramona, and she wants to make sure she understands what to do if that should happen.
Is it still morning?
Right.
Like we just woke up.
This is our morning
Wake up in the
greeting.
Tangle.
Suggestion?
Sure.
How about whoever's nearest the ship's wheel call out hard a port or hard to starboard, whichever way will take the Flying Cloud in a tight curve back towards the submersible, so that obviously the Leviathan, if it's chasing us, will be within better range of those who are on the submersible.
So would that be, so what we're going to do is a little montage where each character decides to do something, and then one of maybe the other characters help them. Flot-sam, would you do that or just yell it out? Would you go take the wheel yourself, this ship, soul of this ship?
Sure. Considering the circumstances, I think it's best that I roll my barrel over to the
Okay.
and use my leverage, my heavy weight, to put as much force on the wheel to get the ship over, and perhaps one of the other sailors and crew or captain will know to try to arrange the sails to maximize the turn.
Well, I think since Ramona is up there, that Ramona is likely the ones that would help you with this action. Ramona, you see Flot-sam come up and grab the wheel from the pilot, and Flot-sam are going to try to do this crazy turn with the ship. The captain is just looking at the Leviathan attached to these 2 long lines. How does Ramona help?
I think Ramona sees Sam rolling over this way and kind of has his eyes set on making some sort of hard line, away from what's chasing us. And I'll probably I don't need to yell to him, he'll probably be close enough, but I'll probably tell him, okay, yes, you take the wheel, and I probably kind of stand in front of him, looking over the crew of the ship, and try to orchestrate the timing of him pulling the wheel, and my other crew going, okay, disengage the sweats on my count, you know. So basically that we end up sort of drop curving like this.
Okay.
And then I'm kind of looking at him, and I'm looking at the crew, and I'm like, you know, helping with the sort of overseeing of what mechanically what's happening on this ship, so we get the right perfect timing as I see this leviathan, you know, of doom headed our way.
Okay. So what I would do is have you roll 1 dice
Okay.
using an edge that you think would help you move the crew, and we're going to add that dice to Flotsam. And then Flotsam, you choose an edge and skill. This is a hard thing to do, Flotsam, so I'm going to give you 1 cut to turn the ship and orchestrate between you and Ramona, yelling out to the engineering crew to collapse one side of the thing. So you would choose an edge, a skill, and then 1 cut.
Okay.
So
So question then, tides. What does tides necessarily define as a?
tides is exploration, learning, lore. You could use it for movement. You could flavor it however you want. I'm not going to hold right to those definitions. But if you wanted to use tides as in ideas of movement, ideas, you know, you could flavor it that way too.
Or grace, the fact that I'm trying to do it as gracefully as possible, so that
Yeah, grace is precision.
yes, so that the
Mhm.
ship doesn't roll over entirely.
Right.
Yes.
So you could use grace and another skill, really.
Yep. Yep. Too bad I don't have a brace. Oh, sway. How perfect is sway?
Okay. So roll grace and sway with 1 cut.
Okay, so cut
With the
says 0, so I just put 1.
Yeah.
And
so
then you want me to roll 1d6 so that he can use it to add to his roll?
Right. Now you could choose whatever you like on your edge. You know, many of them.
I
would
think
work.
that-
Instinct, iron. How
I
you
think
want to
for me,
Okay, yeah.
teeth, because it's like grit. She's like kind
Right.
of bearing down and, you know, looking over the crew, and I don't know. Yeah, teeth makes sense to me.
Passion. Yeah. So roll teeth and then Flotsam, make your grace and sway with 1 cut roll.
Oh, I was going to say on
Ugh.
3. Uh-oh.
Yikes.
Oh. We're going down.
What happens, Flotsam and Ramona, as luck evades you? What happens in this disaster?
I would say I turned one way, but maybe the wrong sail went down, and so all of a sudden we're in some kind of limbo with regard to movement.
I think that the timing was off. I mean, I rolled a
Yeah.
2, so I would say it's my help that was not successful. So I would say
It takes 2.
I think I got distracted by the things that are actually pursuing this Leviathan. I look over, and instead of keeping a closer eye on timing, I I'm like almost amazed a little bit, a little impressed by these guys who are hunting this Leviathan, and the timing goes off. The sails drop, maybe one of the sails on one of the sides drops too quickly, and we kind of curve, we sort of tilt and turn as per Sam's sort of turning of the wheel, and we go sideways.
So not only a curve, but a yaw.
Right. I think the ship yaws over like 45-degree angles. The right side of the sweat sail catches, grabs onto the tangle, and you're like, and everyone gets thrown out onto their knees, grabbing on stuff, except for Captain Teche, whose feet are stable. Like she just leans into it and just looks over her shoulder at Ramona and Flotsam and says, "It was worth a shot. Don't worry, we have time yet."
So do we mark?
I
on
marked
this?
it for it.
Oh, you did.
I
Okay,
marked
cool.
Right. So the
Oh,
Leviathan
no.
gains ground because speed is taken away from the flying cloud. The captain is just watching back aft as the lines and you see them shooting more large, like arrow-looking things and shafts. What does Moldy do as he's standing there with Sparks? He hears they need to get more speed. Sparks and him have gotten the crew down, but he realizes now they're even in worse shape.
Rin, we need more speed. You are good with that ratchet. No, we can perhaps fix the engine, give us a burst of speed to get away from this thing.
I like that idea. Let's go below deck. Is it below deck that we would have to go? Okay.
Right.
So I take out my ratchet, and there's a compartment inside my ratchet that has screws and different tools, and I hand out a couple for Moldy to hold. And I say, let's go. You're helping me. And we make our way down to the bottom of the deck.
Okay. I would remind people when they're making their dice pool to look at your resources and your aspects. I've been having you choose edge and skills, but I haven't really been adding any other dice. But look at your aspects and resources so you get more dice. Not that it's going to go south if you completely fail, but it is. So you go down to the engine room, which is slightly aft the center in the middle of the ship. The engine room of the Flying Cloud is this spring coil clock-like mechanism. It whirs and clicks and moves. It has to be rewound to run the saw prow, and it's got a lot of intricate parts, big giant gears, really tiny gears. There's also gears for the sweat sails, one of which is, making clanking noises under the side because you've just ruined that side. And Sparks and Moldy make it down to the engine room. The engineers, you also have a gang of engineers, so they could be a resource. So you make it down into this spring coil engine that runs the saw prow of the Flying Cloud. Sparks, Moldy's behind you. He's holding some tools. What do you do to get more speed?
How is it down here? Is it pretty dark? Is it well lit?
It has open portholes with maybe amber clad, so there's light. It's not completely like a terrible engine room. It's just loud, as opposed to steam or anything else where it just be really hot. It's just so loud down here that it's hard to even think. That's how loud it is.
So I shake a little bit and I start to let out a glow, and everything's blue, so I can see it a lot clearly. I take my goggles and I put them on and I flip a switch, and it shows me like what is not working mechanically, and I call out to the crew, we need help. What can we do to help? And what is the crew doing actually down here as I say
They're
that?
following your orders.
Okay.
The engineer.
Okay.
you're Sparks Clattercoil.
Yeah.
You know more about engine than anyone.
All right. So I take my ratchet out and I say to Moldy, hand me like 3 screws. And he hands me 3 screws. And I start to open up the mechanics of it, and I look and see, is there anything jammed or stuck within this engine that I could possibly maneuver or I have to replace? What do I see?
You want to make a ad hoc change to a perfectly running engine just to make it faster. Sparks Clattercoil. It's not about fixing something that's broken. It's about making it run better. Right now, you need it to run better.
Okay, so with the knowledge that I have, I move some things around and I take my ratchet and I'm pushing things and making it more advanced. And all of a sudden, it clicks into place and everything sounds great. And I happen to notice that everything's working now, but in a different way, more advanced, to where now the sweat wing can operate without really needing a crew to do it. And I
Like automated.
yeah, it's like automated now. So like kind of like with a command kind of thing, and I whisper to it and I say, do your thing, and it starts to move a little bit faster.
Do you use a whisper?
I want to
Sparks
use a whisper.
Clattercoil. You want to use your whisper locomotive power?
Yes.
Let's do that first. Let's do that
Okay.
first. Now I'm going to let you choose how to use the whisper. In the podcast, they roll to see what happens: a shout, a twist, or a truth. But
Okay.
today I'm just going to let you choose to what to do with the whisper. You can get a truth with the whisper. You can create a twist, or you can change the world.
Oh wow.
Automation.
Oh, okay. I can choose
There
to
goes
change
everyone's
the world.
job.
I know. No, again, I'm scared.
So the odd thing about changing the world is I change the world. It's
Okay.
kind of weird for WildSea as opposed to a twist, but you can change the word. I would take your thing. As we might go to the way they do it on the podcast, where you roll to see if you shout, because that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
But today I'm just letting you choose a truth, a twist, or change the world.
I'm gonna go with a truth.
Okay. You know that the sweat winds can provide lift. It could rise you up, and you might be able to get it to go. If you just get it right, you just change the engine. If you interlink the sweat wings with the spring coil mechanism of the saw prow, you might be able to lift the flying cloud into the air, like you've heard weirdness about flying contraptions. Maybe you can get just enough lift to drift upwards on the flying cloud. If you get it right, it may take some doing, so you're going to have to make a roll. I'd remind you that you could use a resource like ancient wiring and tool belt, add extra 2 dice to help you decide to make that dice pool. But choose and add a skill, and you're going to try to make the flying cloud actually
fly.
Right.
Like a flying fish.
Right.
I also have a question. Since you both were above deck initially before you went down after things sort of got crazy, what would you? I mean, I would assume I would know you and what you do on the ship as part of the crew. Would you think? I mean, I'm wondering if I would have seen you go down below, because if I would have seen you go down below, I probably would have assumed you're going down to like do some business, do what you do best. And I'm thinking, in the chaos, I saw you two scramble down, and since just a moment, I guess, before, I had seen Teche become sort of incorporeal, and I have heard a rumor that she maybe whispers to the ship. I think I'm, in that moment, going to kind of grab her in haste, even though I know she doesn't like to be touched so much, but I grab her and I go, if you can talk to the ship, right now is the time to do it. To maybe give it an advantage in her role, because she's sort of working with the ship. And maybe Teche in that moment can utter something to the ship and sort of fusion give an advantage to her role.
She's going to have the max dice you could get.
Oh, really?
Right. Number one, she used a whisper, so it's going to take the cut away.
Oh, okay.
So the truth of the whisper takes the cut I was going to provide her. And what's going to happen is Sparks is going to make a roll, hopefully with 4 dice, and adds a skill, probably the resource ancient wiring and the tool belt. And then Moldy is going to roll a single dice, and we're going to see if she makes it fly.
Okay. I am going to use ancient wiring. How do you add that to your roll?
So all you do is you choose an edge first, like iron teeth, grace, which edge you feel like it would be that Sparks is using at this moment. As she whispers this truth out, the flying cloud can fly, as she uses the whisper locomotive power. And so you choose an edge, and then you just click on it, and then you add a skill. And all that using a resource or an aspect does is give you advantage die. So if you use ancient wiring, that's 1 advantage die. And if you use an aspect tool belt, then you get 2 advantage die. That's the most you can have. And you click 2. So you use an edge, a skill, 2 advantage die, and there's no cut because you use the whisper.
Okay. So I'm going to choose Grace.
Okay.
And then a skill, I'm going to say study.
Okay.
And then an aspect, I'm going
Right,
to choose tool belt, right?
Okay. And then you would, if you have, you use up the salvage ancient wiring, like it goes
Correct.
away once you use it. And so
Okay.
you would say, I'm using ancient wiring too as a
Yeah.
resource. So now you roll grace, study, 2 advantage die, and no cut.
2 and no cut. All right.
All right. Oh, look at that. So this is crazy. This is triumph with a twist. Like this is not just since Moldy rolled another 6, he adds that 6 to your die. So you got a 6-3-2-2, and you already had a twist with 2-2. But what now it happens is you get a 6-6-3-2-2. So now you got triumph with 2 6s and a twist. So I
Perfect.
right.
Yeah.
What happens, Sparks, Clattercoil?
So as I whisper, do your thing, it starts to kick in. And I see everything working the way it's supposed to. And I come out of the engine and I turn to Moldy and I say, I think we're going up. It worked. And I tell the crew, get ready, let's go above deck. And I guess we start going above deck and I close the engine and I make sure everything's working before I leave to move up to the deck. And I guess we make it up there and I'm going to announce or try to reach the captain and Ramona and let them know of the success of getting the engine to, or at least the sweat wings to work in a way that they've never seen before.
Right. Moldy, what you say anything as you're rushing up towards the poop deck?
That's fascinating. Your work is genius. Are we truly flying? Oh.
Yes. I think this will be the first time I've ever reached the skies. We've done something here, Moldy. And thanks to you, we can go above and beyond.
That's crazy.
And we'll start running up the deck.
Sparks, Clattercaller, and Moldy Busher come up to the poop deck. Ramona and Flot-sam are up there. And just as they get to them, you feel this shudder. And then force on the bottoms of your feet, whatever your feet look like. I'm not certain how many toes you have or what even Flot-sam's things he's standing on, but that's what you feel, this force up through the bottom. As the wings come out, the sweat wings come out and then rotate, and all of a sudden there's this lift. First, it's a little bump. Captain Teche Etzriko looks back at Sparks, Clattercoil, and winks. You don't really ever see the captain smile, but you see this brightness to her in her eyes. She winks at Sparks, Clattercoil, and that's when the sweat wing catch full force. And the flying cloud vaults up into the air. You fly up over, you see the Leviathan underneath you, this colorful giant monstrosity. And you're standing at the rail. You're going further and further and further up into the air. And Captain Teche looks down at the thing, and you just hear her say, "It is such a beautiful thing. Surely there's something we can do about it. What do you say, Ramona? Can I borrow one of your pistols?"
Hold on. I probably take, I just hand it over quietly. I hand it over.
He takes it. You hear her go, "You remember that time we had that competition? I think you were 12 or something like that. I might have been.
Yeah, I
14.
beat you. Yeah.
I got you." The picados are all around, and she goes, "Picados, give a weapon to each one of them. We will shoot these lines from this monstrosity. We will set it free where it belongs in the Tangle. Are you with me, officers of the Flying Cloud?"
Yeah.
I think I'm in shock right now.
So she takes
I'm
aim.
looking around just silently like, what is happening?
So Teche Etzriko is fading a little bit, and then she becomes this fully solid creature. It's the first time in quite a while that Ramona realizes she can feel heat off her body, and the smell of her is even brighter and more advanced. And you all stand at the edge of the flying cloud, looking over the banister down at this thing take aim, and you're each going to try to shoot one of those lines off the monstrosity, really. Or at least that's what she would like to do. Moldy Busher, do you help?
Never held a gun in his life before, but I'll give it a try. Yeah, he's doing it more for the experience than anything else. But
Okay. Flotsam?
Before he gets ready to shoot, I take Blurp. I take Blurp off my shoulder and I hand him back to Moldy and I say, I think you need him now.
thank you.
Before the shooting happens, given the ship has gone skyward, should that not be counting on free and clear?
It is actually
Ooh.
to be frank, those tracks no longer matter because Sparks Clatterfall has made the ship fly.
Awesome.
Okay. Well,
I could mark all of them, but narratively speaking, with that kind of success, with that kind of whisper, with that kind of
Seriously, though.
idea, the flying cloud is free and clear. The captain of the flying cloud would like to make one other thing that's been hunted free and clear. Flotsam, do you join the captain at the banister to try to free the Prezaran created giant monstrosity? Flotsam, you there?
oh, yeah, no, I'm here.
Do you join the crew at the banister with the captain to try to shoot the lines holding the monstrosity below you as you float up into the air?
I heard everything that you said before. Flotsam is going to shine his light to help guide the shots. In other words,
Okay.
yeah, put the light like a spotlight on those ropes so that they become more defined and hopefully a better target.
Okay.
So in other words, I'll give assistance.
Great. I will have you roll an ed skill and aspect and
you
add
want
dice
me?
where you will. So here's how we'll do it. Flotsam, roll your dice, ed skill, aspect, and roll an ed skill and at least one extra dice with aspect of spotlight lantern.
Okay, yes. So I have to I already used spotlight, so I should actually check off.
No, you only check off if it takes damage.
Oh, okay. So it's not a
Yeah.
use, it's a damage.
Right. If you used it during a skill and it was a disaster and you took damage, like if you failed at healing and I said you take damage, you could take damage on your spotlight or damage on your other Dr. Trusty satchel. And once you have that fully damaged, you can't use it anymore. That's how they kind of use hit points or that help. So you don't take damage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have you roll an add skill and aspect. You're going to come up with a number of dice, and everyone who rolls can choose one of those dice to add to their pool.
Right. Well, I can use sharps because sharps is bringing intelligence and preparation to bear. So sharps it is.
Yep.
Now, of course. And concoct.
Yeah.
Coming up with a plan.
Yeah, I think it would work. I'm going to let it fly for the moment. So sharps, concoct, and one die for spotlight lantern. So roll 3.
So basically advantage, one die.
Right, one die.
Woo!
All right, so it's not a
Oh my gosh.
You have a 6, and a 2 to use. And so Flotsam, you shine your light down there, and the captain takes aim and looks at you and nods. As a welcome bit of shine there, Flotsam, how come you stay so far away from me?
I feel your connection to the ship and I'm jealous of it.
Yes, the ship. I am the ship and the ship is me. Sparks Clattercoil, make your shot with an edge skill. Ooh, so have a gear that you might get it.
I'm going to go with tides
Tides, okay.
and then choose a skill.
Yep. Now tides, you don't have a mark in. You have teeth, sharps, and grit.
Oh, teeth. Teeth is okay.
Teeth. Okay, yeah, teeth.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll go with sharps then.
Okay.
And then, oh my gosh. I'll go with maybe break.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Sharps, break, and you want to use any resources or aspect.
I'll
Actually,
use
have
a
it.
resource and I'll go with fossilized fungus.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll do, I said sharps, right? Sharps.
Yep. And one dice for fossilized fungus. You could also perhaps think about using Spore Slinger.
Okay.
I don't know what
Yeah.
that gear is, but it makes sense.
Okay, I'll do sports.
You're slinging
Andrew
fossilized
doesn't know how he feels about that.
fungus, picking it off yourself.
Grace, and then I said break. And then 1D for advantage.
2 dice for advantage if you
2.
use fossilized fungus and spore sling.
I'll do that. Okay.
Nice.
Right. Oh, you got a 6 anyways.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
We're throwing triumphs all day.
Do you want to use any of Bandy's dice? You want a triumph with a twist, or you want to leave it 1 success? So let's put it this way: you need
Okay.
4 successes to break both of the lines. You have
Mhm.
1 success. Each big 6 count as a success. So you could add a 6, take one of Clatter Coil 6, and you would have 2 successes. And you only need 2 successes left to free the Leviathan. Or you could leave those 2 successes for someone else in case they don't get one.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's tough. I
That
think
is
we've
fun.
been rolling pretty good, but just in case, I think I'll leave it
Okay.
for someone else.
So you fling this fossilized fungus. It flickers in Flotsam light, this band of light illuminating. It's like a sunbeam down. It scintillates off the Leviathan's carapace, and you see this fossilized fungus go twirling down, catching the light and sparking just with the light. Maybe there's some form of metal or some sort of iridescence in it that catches the light and just kind of brightens like a little star as it falls down and hits the line, and you see it kind of sway and frazzle as you're up there. Captain Teche says, "Good shot, Sparks. I expected no less. Moldy Blusser. Hopefully you shoot just as well."
Just one of the Taros, is that what they are?
Yeah, the Picaro. What kind of weapon does he give you?
Okay, it'll be a janky looking crossbow.
Okay.
All right, already fully loaded and everything. All he needs to do is pull the trigger. But again, this is the first time he's ever held a weapon in his hand. So he's looking at this thing, not quite sure what to do with it. But Burp kind of crawls down his arm and helps guide him, guides him with the slime mold, just kind of covers his pseudopod hand and just kind of flashes between blue and green to guide him. I'm going to use Teeth Race, as he's just kind of, you notice this big eye hole, kind of narrow as he tries to on this thing. And he's just showering in spores right now, all around him. And so that's only 1 advantage. It's going to be rolling 2 dice.
Okay.
Go moldy, go moldy, go moldy, go moldy.
Oh my goodness.
Let's see. We
So,
win.
what I'll do instead of having a twist, because you got a 6 and 2 5s, is what does it look like when Moldy Blusher, who's never fired a weapon, severs one of the lines completely on Moldy's own?
Actually, Burp that fired the weapon, because Moldy doesn't know what the hell is going on.
Just
You
holding
just
it.
hold it.
So
What color,
yeah,
what
he's just
color is
holding
Blurp?
Burp right now is like flashing like green and yellow. He's happy.
Cool. Okay.
And Moldy's just holding this crossbow. Did I do it? Did it work?
Captain Teche twirls one of Ramona's revolvers. "I may not need this after all." She looks over at Ramona. "I guess it's up to you, girl. I know you can do it."
I think I just let her hold on to the revolver, and I'm just flabbergasted right now. We're flying. We're not floating. We're flying, and this is probably a dream that Ramona never knew existed. Like, I don't think she ever thought that this could be a thing. I think she looks over to Rin and to Moldy, if we're all kind of sort of on the same
edge.
side of the ship aiming. I think she's just like incredibly impressed and shocked, and she's like, I had the idea down and you thought up? Like, how? And she's gonna be like, "You're genius," and would it be okay if she in this moment used, so I'm going to roll with sharps as my edge, probably flourish as a skill.
Right.
And-
Showmanship.
Yeah.
Could I actually use my aspect of barrage? Because I kind of had the I think she's like, I don't want to just like, I'm not, I think she's just so excited. And as a barrage, she can use her like choy needles and
Uh-huh.
they kind of just free float. Like she sends a cloud of them down to sort of many cuts
Okay.
down to the rope, kind of in a sort of joyous expression. She has her hands on her friend's shoulders and she's like, you guys are genius. This is amazing. And she sees them shooting, you know, and Moldy doesn't even have an eyes and he just busted this rope and she's just like, wow, like, brah, you know, and then she lets out a whole cloud of choy go. If that would be cool to use that aspect
Sure.
barrage.
Yeah.
Would
Now,
that add just like 1D?
yeah, it would add 1. Whenever you use a resource or an aspect, you add
Uh-huh.
1. I think the rules don't say how many aspects you can use at a time, but I'd have to check. But
How do you
I
mark
would.
off the resource that you use?
You actually could just delete it. I think you left click,
Oh,
edit, delete, and
okay.
it will come off. Or you could just edit it and say used if you wanted to keep a running track of what you used.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, but this says with a successful LR attack, so it would be maybe sort of throwing blades. So maybe I'll reflavor it as my throwing blades are the needles, and I'll use the heavy chakram as that because it's a long range.
Oh, right.
And then barrage on top of that would be if you successfully do a long range attack. But I'll say, yeah, I can flavor it's like heavy chakram. Maybe my larger needles sort of come out and I just send
Okay.
some as far as I possibly can. Let's see. So I got sharps, flourish, and I can add up to 2 skills. Let's see.
1 edge, 1 skill, and then resource aspect, which doesn't really
All right.
conflict. But you have right.
We
you
already have
some dice.
we have the leftover. I had a
Uh-huh.
feeling I was gonna roll real low. I narrate high and I roll low.
How does Flot-sam's light help Ramona?
Are you asking me or Ramona?
No, you.
Me,
Yeah. How does your light help Ramona?
as a guiding light, a path to where it needs to be hit. Perhaps blinding the Leviathan so that it kind of pauses and slows down.
Okay. It just kind of over the ring of eyes it has up at the front of its head, it slows down just a little bit, or quakes as Ramona fires her blades down there, go twisting down. They cut through that last line, and you see the Leviathan give this little jolt, almost like it's flying itself, like it rises up out of the canopy and spreads its carapace, this multi-segmented thing, these tiny triangle-shaped feet. They're not tiny, but to him it's tiny. And it kind of floats up, and you hear this thrum come up from the Tangle. It's undeniably joyful in a manner that you maybe not expect from a Leviathan. You've already heard it scream and be in pain, but it suddenly goes up. And the question is to the group to decide what happens to the submersible. Does the Leviathan dive into the Tangle, or does it roll on itself like a giant pill bug and crush the...
I would suggest that since the ropes have been parted, that any tension that was there would cause the submersible to sort of go out of control.
Okay, sound good to everyone?
Yeah, I like that.
So the submersible does a fishtail, like suddenly flops back, maybe damages its engines. You see it falter and kind of roll over on its side, and the giant segmented Leviathan just rides and almost looks like it's surfs out into the Blossom Shoals and surfs along the cutter, putting up this big fantail, really, of blossoms, and then dives back into the Tangle. Captain Teche whirls a gun, gives it back to Ramona. I guess I didn't need this. This is what happens when you check a good crew. Welcome to the Flying Cloud. And we're ended there for today. This is mine.
That was awesome.